Hi, this is Bill, and this is going to be a box opening and initial thoughts on the HobbyKing Mission D drift car. I ordered this car about 3 weeks ago when it was first released, and it took 3 weeks to arrive. I paid $120 shipped to have it delivered from the international warehouse, and this is what it looks like with the outside box after the car has been removed. It included tons of packaging and bubble wrap. The car was very well packaged within the box and very well protected. All this wrap was wrapped around the car inside the box, tucked inside the body. The body was very well secured. This was the box that was inside of the other box, and the first thing that I noticed, well, it has a nice little handle on here, but the first thing that I noticed was that it's actually manufactured by Snow Panther Hobby. I was expecting to see a Turnigy box, and apparently this car is not, probably one of the first cars I've noticed that it is not made by Turnigy. But let's go ahead and open the box and see what you get inside. The instruction manual is pretty decent. It does include plenty of detailed instruction, no apparent grammatical or spelling mistakes throughout. And it's got, 13 pages of instruction, and it does include a spare parts listing front and back, which is just kind of an afterthought on the manual. The only disappointment that I have with this manual is it does not have an overall exploded view of the car, but you can see individual parts throughout the build process to be able to figure out what you have. The other thing that's lacking in the manual is it does not include instructions for the body. There are body components that need to be assembled, and doesn't really lay that out, so you're going to have some intuitiveness when putting this car together. So here's what the body looks like. As you can see, I guess due to copyright protection, they've intentionally had some misspellings. For Nissan is not spelled Nissan, and so forth. Pretty much every logo throughout the car. And there's, instead of HPI, I guess they're using HRI, and so forth. So, but overall, from a distance, it looks like a pretty cool car. This is actually a PVC body, and it's screen printed. No additional decals are included with the car. Here are the bag of accessories that comes with it. It looks like it comes with 2 spoilers, different mounts. There's some side view mirrors, windshield wipers. You got some hardware screws in there, and the plastic is pretty hard and brittle. So if you're drifting, you're probably not going to get any high-speed crashes anyway. But it does look decent enough. And like I said, there are no instruction for it. Let's go ahead and pull the car out of the box. One thing that I did notice, another thing that was an issue in the user's manual, is that it does not include a final drive ratio chart or anything for that. For that matter, you're going to have to do your own calculations. It does come with a 40-tooth pulleys for the front and rear diffs. And then it comes with 2 15-tooth pulleys along the center where the spur gear shaft is. But you do have the option to remove those pulleys and come with a counter steer, so that way you can get the rear wheels to spin faster. But as of right now, I believe this is a 50-50 setup. So I guess you could replace these little pulleys down in here to get the rear wheels to spin faster and get more counter steer going. The car weighs a considerable amount. This is a very heavy chassis due to the fact that it's all plastic, and there's no carbon fiber whatsoever in this car to lighten things up, and that could or could not affect performance. We'll have to see how that goes. It does come with a front ball diff, and then the rear is a lock spool. And it comes with full hex hardware throughout the car, and there are slots available for sway bars, but there are no hardware included in there. Sway bars are not included. There are no mention of sway bars anywhere in the instruction manual, and there are no sway bars in the spare parts listing. So that implies that this car may be modeled after another car on the market, and some folks seem to think that it might be a copy of a Yokomo drift car. I may go ahead and order some parts to confirm that. So be sure and click on the link in the description of this video for the full review, and I'll give updated information as it becomes available to show whether or not parts are compatible. The mesh between the pinion and spur is too tight. I'm going to have to loosen that up. And the ESC is a little loose in here. I'm going to need to remount that on there and clean that up, reapply some fresh double-sided tape. It does look like there is a slot here for a fan, a cooling fan to install in there, an optional fan. And then there's a mystery switch on the side. Now there are no instructions provided with the speed control, so I'm not sure how it works. I'm going to have to play around with it and see if it's just a simple bind and go as it goes with it. It does come with a 22 brush motor. It is a modified motor, so you can replace the brushes, so it should be a very long-lasting motor if you take care of it, assuming you don't overheat it. And everything throughout the car is plastic. Like I said, there's no carbon fiber, no aluminum, with the exception to the shocks. The shocks are aluminum body shocks with plastic caps. There are what appears to be alloy turnbuckles, which are nice, and they're slotted, which could make it really easy for tuning. The servo turnbuckle does not look like it's properly adjusted. Normally there should be threads on both ends of the turnbuckle, and there's missing threads here, so I'm going to have to fix that up before I get this car going, before I hook the radio up. And the tires are really hard. It's hard to tell if it's PVC or if it's a synthetic rubber, but it seems harder than a synthetic rubber, but I'm not really sure. I'll have to do some testing with it and see how it feels with some other synthetic type drift tires. I suspect these tires may not be as good as other brands, but it may surprise me. The belts on the car are solid rubber belts. That could be an issue. Normally belts have threads on there that are interlaced within the belt to add durability. So I suspect as this rubber breaks down, these may not last very long. So one of the first things I'm going to do is try to order some Yokomo belts and see if they'll fit, and then also see how long these belts last before they snap. I predict they're not going to last very long. There are full bearings throughout the car, as shown in the instruction manual, and one thing that did impress me is that there are bearings in the steering linkage, which is kind of nice. And the suspension actually feels well tuned right off the bat. It feels nice and soft in the front and stiff in the rear, which is the way you want to set up a drift car. So that's actually pretty good setup right out of the box. To me at least, it looks like it's ready to drift. One thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is that I don't know if you can see, but there's a missing screw right here. So it looks to me like they accidentally bored that out or stripped it, and I'm just stuck without a screw. So I may have to maybe glue another screw in there or something, or just see if it runs without the screw. So you can attribute that to these plastic parts in there. You know, maybe I'll need to upgrade that to aluminum if it's not too expensive. So that way I can get that screw threaded in there. All the ball cups and the ball linkages are slotted throughout the car, so it'd be really easy to remove them without having to just pry off the ball links. And the plastic on the car seems to be very soft throughout, which is good for durability. But the chassis flex, let's see if I can show you. There's a lot of chassis flex to it. So that could be good, could be bad, but you know, that's just what you get when you have all plastic chassis. The wheel nuts are flange nuts, which is kind of nice, easy for removal and installation. Be able to get those back in there with your wrench. Oh, and there's no hardware, no tools included with the kit. And there are droop screws in the chassis, so there's lots of tuning and adjustability options are available. And there's there are spacers in the front and the rear, and it appears that there's a total of about 8 millimeters of spacing that can be adjusted for the wheelbase, and so that's kind of pretty nice. There's also, let's see if you can see it here, it looks like a vented air scoop, so that the airflow goes into the chassis and comes out to the back to help keep the motor cool. So there's a motor right in the design. So the only drawback that I can see is that there is no traditional method to install a cooling fan on the motor, which is probably why they vented it like that. So you're going to have to, if you want to put a cooling fan on this motor, it looks like you're going to have to do some sort of customization. There's no snap-on, easy way to get a heat sink cooling fan mounted on there that I can see right off the top of my head. The front bumper design is rather soft. I've never seen a design like this, but I mean, it looks like that can definitely take impacts pretty easily. Even the plastic in here is really soft. But like I said, the plastic throughout the car is just soft everywhere. One other thing that I can see is these hex hubs are plastic. Try to zoom in a little bit, and there's actually a scale, and there's a scale caliper inside the heel. So the wheel spins, you see the caliper stationary. The only drawback is that all these parts are plastic, and I know in the past with other cars that I've seen, heat will build up. The plastic has a tendency to melt or warp, so that there's a potential for some binding to occur in there over time. I'm not sure how long that will happen, but I would not expect these plastic parts to last a considerable amount of time before they start to wear. And another thing that I noticed is that this rear pulley may need to have shims applied to it. It doesn't seem to be tall enough. Although right off the bat you can see the belt clears the top of the battery tray, but as soon as you have forward binding motion, the belt lowers down and almost touches that tray. So I think to make me feel more comfortable, I'm going to go ahead and shim that rear pulley a little bit and raise it up before I actually use the car. It does appear that it can fit a traditional LiPo battery pack in there, where you just remove these two pins here and slide the battery in. You can have your wires come up over here to connect into the speed control, and just got to install my receiver, and then I'm ready to start drifting. So look for some more updates on the link to this video, and look for a follow-up review probably in about 2 to 3 months. Thanks for watching.